What's going on, YouTube? It's your host, Bruce GNT, and we're back with another video. And I was avoiding making this video for the longest time, and the reason why is because this shit was just gonna be too long. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was gonna be long. But I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna break it up in two parts. So the first part is gonna be going over Melyssa Ford and her failed engagements and relationships and dissecting that and kind of figuring out how she went wrong. And the second part, yeah, we'll get to that. I kind of like peeked into it a little bit, cheated, sorry. Yeah, we'll get into that. But without further ado, let's jump right in.
I am 48, I am child-free, and I've never been married. And guess what? That's okay. I never made it down the aisle, but I have been engaged in the past. How many engagements? I would say 2.5. Let's start with the 0.5, since that was the first one. I was involved with a man who loved me. He was good looking, he was tall, he was charismatic, gregarious. Everybody loved him. My mom loved him, my sister loved him, my niece loved him, my friends loved him. Everybody loved him. But there was something inside of me that just said, this is not perfect. It's the furthest thing from perfect. He would say things like, nobody's ever going to love you the way that I love you. And I believed him. I wrestled with this internal sense of guilt. I wrestled with the guilt of honestly wanting to be free, honestly wanting to live my life and to date and to experience other men and to experience other things and other places. I just wanted to live my life. I had moved to New York from Toronto, a totally different country, with $25, 2 suitcases, and a one-way ticket. I didn't have permission from my country to leave. I didn't have permission from this country to be here. And I was making things happen for myself at a very, very rapid pace. And so to find myself inside of a relationship that felt so stifling at this very young age and not having the vocabulary to speak up for myself and articulate that somebody who loves you would not say those things to you. They wouldn't say that nobody will ever love you the way that I love you, because that indicates that there's a part of me that's broken or there's a part of me that's unlovable. But I didn't know how to articulate this. So I stayed in this relationship that I was wildly unhappy in for approximately 3.5 years, close to 4. And I have to admit, I was not faithful in this relationship. Nothing that I'm proud of, but I just chalk that up to I was really, really young and I was hood famous. You know, I was on the covers of magazines on your local newsstand. So everybody recognized me. And that was another source of pressure that I felt being inside of this relationship rather than being free to explore all of my options. And so one day I was going through some drawers, you know, folding laundry, placing clothes, you know, in the drawers and such. And I found it. I found a box. And when I saw it, I said, please, God, don't let this be what I think it is. And I opened the box. And there it was. It was a ring. And the only thing that I could think was that it was an engagement ring. It sure as hell was not a promise ring. We were way beyond that. We were not in high school. I was not wearing this boy's varsity jacket. This was an engagement ring. And if I knew this man the way that I knew him, that proposal was going to be very public. And that terrified me. I didn't want to have to say no in front of our friends and family and publicly humiliate him. He did not deserve that, but I also could not see myself
Rather just humiliate him
in
secret,
front of
right?
everybody just to save face, and then later on have to break it to him like that this is not something that I was going to be able to go forward with. So what I did instead was I packed up all my belongings while he was out of town and put them in storage and flew back to Canada. And then I had the conversation about us breaking up over the phone. I know what you're probably thinking as well. Yo, Melyssa, that's fucked up. I know. It took years for me to make peace with this decision. I have self-flagellated over this decision. I have beaten myself up every way to Sunday that you possibly can. I tried to reconcile with.
Yeah, I'm gonna step in real quick. So she made a demon. I hope she knows that. Like, she made a demon of that man. Like, so to hit on the first point, the thing is, when people tell stories, I like to really figure out and kind of think deeply about what they're telling me and why they're telling me, especially in how they say it. Based off of what she's saying, because she's saying a lot of contradictory things. First, she's saying how everyone loved him, this man loved her and everything like that. It seemed like he was a really good guy. But then she's also talking out the other side of her mouth saying, oh, I was wildly unhappy. But then you were with him for almost 4 years. You're wildly unhappy, but you were with this man for almost 4 years. Make that make sense. But you were wildly unhappy. Okay, so you were just wildly unhappy and cheating the whole time. So you were wildly unhappy, but this guy was great to everyone. So he had a secret side, which one thing I've noticed too, when women are recounting an interaction with a man, they know every minute detail. They could tell you what that man smelt like. It could happen years ago, because this happened 20 years ago. They could tell you every minute detail. So if he was a terrible person to her, besides him saying no one ever loved you the way I do, which I know exactly why he said that. Besides that, there was nothing else, because she would have said it. She would have said it. She would have said it. There was nothing else. It was only that one thing. That one thing. And you want to know why he said it? And I'm gonna be like a little bold and say this. Only God can tell me I'm wrong why he was saying it. Because he had an idea, or he flat out knew that she was stepping out on him. And because he was a little bit of a simp, and I don't like overusing that word, but he kind of was. He was a little bit of a simp, and he didn't want to let her go because he really loved her. Because there's no way he didn't know for 4 years straight, almost 4 years straight, that she was stepping. He knew. He knew. That's why he was saying that. It's the context of what she was saying. He knew. He knew that she was stepping up. That's why he kept telling her, no one's going to love you like the way I do. Why else would he say that like that? Why else? It's because he knew, or he had some type of inkling that's what was going on. That's why. And then also, you got to blame him too, because you have to have enough self-respect and understanding that, hey, this woman is not for you. Because if she was for you, she wouldn't even be moving like that. She wouldn't. It's okay being on cover of Sports Illustrated and everything. That's fine. But stepping out on, that's foul. That's foul. It's foul. And then you're surprised, oh, this better not be what I think it is. You were homeboy for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. What did you think it was going to turn into? Y'all just shacking it up and roommates? Obviously, this is going to lead into a marriage. And I don't like how, and it's mostly women that do it, because when men do it, they get called out for it, rightfully so. I don't like when women, whenever they do these things that are foul, it's always, oh, I was really young. I was so young. No. How young are you to not know that it's wrong to step out on someone and do something wrong? There's a certain age that you got to not know that? Because later on, like I said, I cheated, so I already know what's going to happen. Later on, she talks about how she was 20 involved with some other dude. So you weren't 20. The youngest, what, you were 21 maybe? 22, like, you don't know. And then you were with that guy for 3.5, almost 4 years, so you didn't know. Come on now, cut the bullshit. You knew it was wrong. You just didn't care. You didn't care, and that's fine. But keep it a buck. Don't try to lie to people, be like, I didn't know. Have a little bit of accountability. And for that dude too, that's his fault. It don't take you 4 years to figure out that some girl's respectfully, a bop, a hoe. It don't take you 4 years to figure that out, my brother. It don't. It don't. That's his fault. It led on. He got his heart broken because he wanted to act like a fool. Because he wanted to hold on. Because he didn't have enough. He didn't stand 10 toes down and respect himself. That's what it was. He didn't respect himself. He respected her more than he respected himself. To just say, you know what? This ain't gonna work out. I gotta step away. That's why that happened.
Let me go on to the second engagement. So I'm 28 years old and I have left the previous relationship, the 0.5, and I have met this man who, the minute I saw him, I knew I was going to be with him. He just was it. I don't know how to describe it. And the second I heard his voice, I said, I'm going to marry this man. I don't know what it was. Like, he had this Louisiana drawl. It's my favorite Southern accent. He was huge, like 6'1", 246 pounds of hulking muscle. He had skin the color of like red clay. He had this thick neck, big round head. He had this crooked tooth that drove me wild. His flaws were like manna from heaven for me. And I loved his dirty draws and I could just sleep in his armpit right after he'd played a game of like pickup basketball. That is how much I loved this man.
Nothing but lust.
And our courtship was a whirlwind. He wined and dined me. He bought me lovely, lovely gifts. I'd wake up to those baby blue Tiffany boxes just laid on the pillow right next to me. We could go to my favorite store, and as long as I put on a little fashion show for him, everything I wanted I could get. But when I say that the gifts really mattered nothing to me, it was this man. He was the gift to me. That's just the fact. And we were 6 months into our relationship when the first sign of trouble appeared. I was in Denver for All-Star Weekend, and I was working for BET at the time, so I had a lot of responsibilities. I had to make a lot of appearances. I had to interview a lot of people, and a lot of those people were athletes. And he was back home. And I did not know that he was jealous. It didn't even cross my mind. And so when I got home after an event and I was perturbed by, an interaction with a strange man at a party that I had been at, he'd said something vile to me and it hurt my feelings. And all I wanted was to be comforted. And so I went back to my hotel room and I called my boyfriend and I just asked him to just tell me that he thought that I was beautiful and that he loved me. And he didn't do that. He just pressured me to tell him what happened. Why are you asking me to do this? And so I told him what happened, and he responded by saying, why would I want to date such a weak bitch that would be that offended by what some strange guy has to say to her? There's just no way that he just said that to me. I'm sorry, what? And he said, you heard me. And I said, I'm really confused right now. And he was like, I'm sure you are. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. There's no way that this was the person that I had just spent the last 6 months with, completely absorbed with, and in the throes of like love and ecstasy with. And I said, I'm glad that I'm finding out who you really actually are now rather than later. He said, yeah, I'm sure you are. Click. And hung up the phone on me. I cried myself to sleep that night. And the next day I had to cover a ladies' luncheon, the wives of the NBA. And so I had to be perfect and pretty, and I had to act like the man of my dreams had not just told me to basically go F myself. And so while I was getting ready. A large bouquet of flowers was delivered. My makeup artist said, Mel, you should read the card. And it said, you are beautiful to me and I love you. And I'm sorry. And then his name. I burst into tears. It just flew out of my face. So basically, my whole beat face just melted. And I called him and I said, I received your flowers. And he said, I am so sorry. And I told him, I'm going to forgive you because I love you. But you can't ever speak to me like that ever again. He's like, I promise I won't. So whenever people wonder, how do people end up in abusive relationships and why do you stay? The reasons are aplenty, but I will start by saying that that is not the way that it begins. It begins with love bombing. It begins with flowers, candy, gifts, and the wonderful sex, and the cuddles, and the pillow talk. And this is how it begins. And it can last for a lengthy amount of time. I stayed through it all and accepted the marriage proposal. The final straw for me was his reaction to finding out that my mom was ill. If I stayed in this relationship, in 10 years, I would have that white picket fence, and I would have the 2 kids, and I would be an abused woman, hiding her bruises and her broken bones and her stuff, a blessing in disguise. And that relationship came to an end. And that was the first full engagement. So 1.5. So that's where we are right now.
So with that engagement, there's nothing much I can really say. Honestly, that whole situation was sad. The only fault that could really be laid is at the hands and at the feet of that man, because there's no situation I could condone abuse of any kind to anyone. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I know there's a lot of people that struggle with that. I've never been in a situation like that, thank God. I know some women and some men that have gone through that situation, and we worked hard to make sure that they were able to get out of that. And it's a good thing that she was able to get out of that. I mean, honestly, the only thing I can really say is that usually there are warning signs. There are little things that happen. There are little ticks that they have. And from what I've been told, and this is stuff I've been told by people that have gone through those situations, domestic violence and verbal abuse and whatnot, is when they've told me themselves that they've seen things based off of their own experiences and how they were like, okay, cool. Looking back, they've said, hey, I've noticed this stuff looking back. And it's only until I got into that situation and I took time to think about, okay, what were the warning signs that I saw it. So if you're in that situation, hopefully you can get help. There was a number on the screen. I'll put it down in the description, just in case, so it can help anybody, because you never know. That's really all I have to say about that. Hopefully no one's going through that. And if you are going through that, you can get the proper help and find the resources that will really be able to help you.
When I was 20 years old, I had this boyfriend. His name was Tony Smith. I could say his name because, you could throw a rock and hit a Tony Smith. It may as well be like John Doe. He was from Greensboro, North Carolina. And he had come up to Toronto to play for the Toronto Argos, which is a football team in the Canadian Football League. And he had played in the National Football League, the NFL, for many years. And a lot of NFL players, when they're not ready to hang up their cleats,
she says his name,
and not ready to kind of
and
be
then
put out to
says
pasture,
you won't find him. There's a lot of them, and then
come to the
starts to
CFL.
narrow down who he is.
And so I met Tony at this festival called Caravana in Toronto. He was so beautiful. My God, instant attraction, obviously. And we started dating. We genuinely liked each other. We liked each other to the point where we could say really, really offhand things to each other. For example, he asked me what my fantasy was. And I got this look on my face. And I said, well, A fantasy would be, I guess, a menage with me and you and somebody else. And he was like, another woman? I said, no, with another guy. And he was like, really? He was like, do you have an idea as to who this guy is? I said, yeah. He's like, really? You have to tell me. I said, it's your best friend. And I expected him to maybe slap me. I don't know what. But he threw his head back and roared with laughter. And I was like, wow, that was not the response I was expecting. And he said, do you want me to make that happen? I was like, oh my God, that is so sweet. No, absolutely not. It is just a fantasy. It is meant to stay there. But just the fact that you are open to it and don't make me feel shame for feeling this way. He was like, why would I make you feel that way? And Tony, I don't know. He maybe he was just an anomaly, but wherever we would go, no matter how scantily I was dressed, he would let me move around the party as I felt the need to and interact with anybody. And he would just sit there and just watch me with a smile. And at one point, somebody stood next to him and asked him, like, aren't you afraid to let her walk around like that? And he was like, absolutely not. She's going home with me. I don't have anything to be worried about. And you want to know something? He was absolutely right. His level of confidence and knowing that I had eyes for nobody but him was what made him so much more sexy to me, so much more attractive, and made me like and love him so much more. I wish that I could say that the vast majority of my relationships went like this, but they didn't. They didn't. I'm going to take a sip of wine.
When people speak, they let loose a lot of things about themselves. And besides the second engagement, obviously, because through no fault of her own, that man was an asshole. A straight demon, honestly. She's already let loose that she has hoish tendencies. And I'm going to put a little disclaimer. I'm not trying to discredit her. I'm not trying to talk bad about her. I'm just calling a spade a spade. Simple as that. Just like if someone wants to call me ugly, that's fair. It's not the first time I've heard it. Won't be the last time I've heard it. It is what it is. I'm keeping it a buck. You kind of are showing that you have hoish tendencies, and that's completely fine. We just got to be real about it, because this relationship was before the half engagement, right? Okay, cool. It sounds like you want to be able to dress how you want, do what you want to do, however you want to do, and the guy should just be okay with it. Because your mentality was, I bet I want to dress how I want, and you should be confident enough to let me dress how I want. But oh boy, I'm pretty sure was letting you do that, and you were still cheating on him. So the whole mentality of, oh, I just love when a man's confident enough to know that I'm gonna go home with him. I'm pretty sure Buddy thought the same thing, and guess what? You was going home with him and then sneaking out. You know what? You were probably bold enough that you wasn't even sneaking out. You were just doing it in his face anyway. You was probably just doing it in his face. But I say all that to say that I don't like when women try to use that argument of, oh, if you're confident, I can dress however I want. That's not the point. The point of the matter is, when we're in a relationship, you are a direct reflection of me, just like I am a direct reflection of you. Like, I'm a representation of who you are as a person. So I'm not gonna step out looking all like mismanaged, like I don't have an owner or anything like that. I'm unkept. I'm not gonna do that, because that's disrespectful to you. I'm not gonna disrespect you because you're my woman. And the same should be said for you. You shouldn't walk outside scantily clad, because that's disrespectful to me, because I wouldn't do the same thing. Simple as that. A man that's gonna let his woman, because I think I already know who the dude is, because other people have like talked about it. He's like 26 at the time, she was 20. A dude that's gonna do something like that for your woman, you think, oh, he let me do what I want, he cared about me. No, he didn't give a damn about you. He treated you like a hoe. Because to be fair, I don't even deal with girls younger than me, because that's kind of sounds annoying. It just sounds like a headache. But if I was, honestly, I probably would treat her the same way. If I was to move like that, I'm like, yeah, dress how I don't care. I ain't got nothing to do with me. when we get home, I'm gonna bust your shit down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't matter to me. So you're out here thinking, in your little mind thinking, oh yeah, because he's so confident. All the while he's thinking, yeah, I really don't care. He all but told you, saying like, yeah, I don't mind busting you down, my best friend. Did you not hear that? Did you not understand that he treated you like a hoe? Like, what like, what dude in a relationship is gonna tell his woman in a legit relationship where it's like, yo, I want something serious with you. Yeah, I don't mind busting you down with my best friend. You a whole grown ass woman. You don't even see that yet. Whole 48, and that you could explain that to 100 different men of various ages. They'll be like, yeah, no, that's not it. And not to call people weird and whatnot. There's some dudes that are into that, and that's fine. But on average, no. That dude did not give a damn about you like how you're thinking. And you out here thinking, oh, I wish all my relationship went like that. Yeah, so you could just do whatever the hell you want, however you want. Yeah, okay, cool. That's why your ass is... Now I'm gonna say it. That's why your ass is by yourself. Because you want to do what you want, however you want, and not care about how you represent the person that you decide to be with. That's why. The whole point of, well, I can't say the whole point. When I step out and I'm in a relationship, I want my woman to be a direct reflection of me. We gonna step out and we gonna eyes are gonna be honest, not because of how scantily clad we're dressed, but because people gonna be like, damn, they did that shit. Yup, that's exactly how it's gonna be. That's how it's gonna be. But look, all I gotta say is that any young woman listening to this, don't take her as a well of knowledge, because this ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. She gonna have y'all looking goofy, for real.
The last engagement, when I was approximately 36, 37 years old, and I'll be honest, I thought that I was in love with this man, but I wasn't. What I was traumatized from an experience that had happened to me on a cruise ship where I was and I could not be in the room alone with my own shadow. I was so traumatized by what had happened to me that when this man appeared, he was offering safety and security. He was physically huge, but he also came with a very secure lifestyle and a lot of security. And so I felt safe. And that's the only thing I was looking for. I was looking for safety. And so I lied to myself. And it was very easy to do that, to just dive in head first, forget the rocks below. And during the process of this relationship, I started to realize that I was losing myself completely and totally. Friends had started to notice, Mel, you're paying a lot of attention to his career, but what are you doing about yours? And I didn't want to hear it. I actually did not want to even hear my own name. I didn't know what it meant to be Melyssa Ford anymore. I had no clue. The sound of my own name gave me goosebumps, and not in the best way. I was having a massive identity crisis. And so when he proposed, he didn't even get the full words out before I said yes, because I was running from myself. I was running from my truth. I was running from the healing journey that was on the horizon. I was running, and I was trying to put the blinders on. But there was always that internal sense of that steel core of resilience and tenacity inside of me that said, Melyssa, this is not your truth. This is not your path. This is not it. And as scary as it was to keep trying to align myself with my internal compass, obviously, you make all these decisions, but it's got to bring you back pointing due north, which leads me to where I am now, 48, child-free, and honestly, with zero regrets.
I don't like how she didn't tell the end of that engagement, because she kind of skipped over that. And like I said before, and she's been a good, kind of a good narrator in the sense of like telling exactly her experiences. Some of these stories were over 20 years old, and she could tell you exactly, detail by detail, exactly what happened. So whenever I hear someone, especially someone like her that shows herself to be a pretty decent narrator, leave out certain details, it's usually because, I'm sorry for your experience. Honestly, that's a traumatizing experience. I've known some women that have been in a situation like that, and yeah, that it really does make you lose your identity. Like, you don't really come back from that with a sense of self. It's nothing to be laughed at. Like I said, I've never been through anything like that, so I can never truly understand. With that being said, there is a responsibility of the person henceforth after that to get some type of therapy, get some type of counseling, because decisions made after that are still your decisions. Because, and it's incumbent on the man as well, because my question is to him is, how long was the dating before that engagement? And were you just seduced by the fact that this is a beautiful woman? Because she's a beautiful woman. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You know, and even more so, I'm pretty sure when she was younger, you know. How much did he even really know about her? Because if he himself didn't even notice that she was clearly not in a good headspace, why are you even taking that plunge to even marry her? You know, and look, I don't know all the story because obviously she didn't tell it, but the man himself should use a little bit of discernment. I know I would have. In this case, because obviously we don't have the whole story, it just sounds like she just picked poorly and or wanted to do her own thing and then found herself right here. You know, that's honestly what it sounds like. The half engagement. She was with someone that she didn't have to be with. No one made her be with him for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. And then it was so much of her choice to not be with him that the minute she got spooked with an engagement, she left. So she could have left at any point, but she decided to stay. Why? No one made you stay. When she was 20 years old. I don't know how that ended, but it ended. Okay. The second engagement, thank God that ended, but, and I don't like saying this because it sounds like I'm victim blaming, and I'm really not, but you still picked that man. I'm so sorry to say that, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact. You know, all her relationships leading up to that and then to the third engagement, these were men that you picked. You weren't coerced into any of these relationships. You chose to be in them. And the thing is, she seems so cognizant of her situation where it's like, and maybe it's just 2020, hindsight is always 2020, so maybe it's like looking back, she's like, oh shit. But it's like, she seems fairly intelligent, so you knew what you were doing and where you were getting yourself into. You could have made the adjustments. Seemingly her being promiscuous in the sense of, okay, I kind of just want to go out and do my own thing, was a reoccurring thing throughout her 20s, maybe even leading into her 30s. You could have just made the adjustment and just not done that. Especially if what she makes it seem like she wanted the white picket fence to children. Did you really want that? Because I'm pretty sure you could have made choices to do that. You know, yeah, since I decided to split this up into 2 videos, it's not like a lot, because the second video is really going to be hammering in on like what she said and how it seemed like this video, it turned from her talking about her own experiences into you don't need a man and men can hold women back and men are terrible. And I was like, okay, that's a weird shift, because it was like, how do we get here? You know, and that's the one I really want to go in on, because it's like, I don't like this whole, I'm a strong independent woman, but then I'm also a damsel in distress that needs my own agency. And it's like, what the pick one. Like, you can't be both. Like, you really can't be both. You can't, you know. But yeah, this video's already long enough. I need to be done with this one. But if you like this video, really enjoyed it, give it a like, comment down below what you think. Maybe I'm wrong, like maybe I'm not picking up the context clues or whatever, but it seemed like she just wanted to hoe around, and then she got older and was like, oh shit, I'm here. And it seemed like she had an identity crisis when she was 36, along with the trauma of almost being, you know. And she just woke up and was like, shit, I'm 48. You know, consequences, me choices. But yeah, like I said, if you like this video, leave a like. If you have anything that you want to say, let me know. Comment down below. And if you want to see more of this, subscribe. Yeah. Peace.